The security guard's grip tightened as he dragged the frail woman toward the exit. Guests stared, whispering, while her torn shawl trailed behind. She didn't fight back, only raised her chin and said, calm but piercing, "Throw me out if you must. But remember, appearances deceive." In that instant, silence fell. The ballroom shimmered with chandeliers and golden decor, every corner filled with wealth, laughter, and glittering gowns. At the grand entrance stood David, the head security guard, stern, imposing, and proud of keeping troublemakers out. To him, order meant everything. Then came Maya. Her clothes were worn, her sandals broken, her face marked by exhaustion. She looked out of place among the tuxedos and jewels. Guests wrinkled their noses, whispering as if her very presence was an insult to their celebration. David blocked her way, towering over her like a wall. "You don't belong here," he said coldly, his voice echoing through the polished hall. The poor woman only clasped her small bag tighter, her eyes strangely steady, as if she knew something none of them did. The gap between them, powerful guard versus powerless stranger, was undeniable, yet something about her calm unsettled him. David crossed his arms, standing tall like the final gatekeeper. "You need to leave before I make you leave," he warned, his tone sharp enough to slice through the hum of the party. Guests turned, their curious stares becoming daggers of judgment aimed at Maya. A wealthy woman in pearls laughed mockingly. "Imagine a beggar walking into our gala. How shameless." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Maya's cheeks flushed, but her eyes didn't falter. She spoke softly. "I just need to speak to someone inside." David smirked. "No one here has time for you. Out." He gripped her arm firmly, his strength reminding everyone of the power divide. Him in control, her the helpless intruder. But even as he pushed her toward the exit, Maya didn't resist. Instead, she whispered, almost to herself, "You have no idea who you're throwing out." The tension thickened like smoke. Just as David shoved Maya closer to the glowing glass doors, a black limousine screeched to a halt outside the gala. The crowd hushed as a suited chauffeur rushed forward, pulling open the rear door. Out stepped a man in a crisp tuxedo, his presence commanding instant respect. The murmurs stopped. Everyone knew him. Mr. Whitmore, the billionaire who owned the company sponsoring the gala. To everyone's shock, his gaze bypassed the glittering guests and locked directly on Maya. His stern face softened into something unrecognizable, warmth. "Maya," he said, his voice carrying through the silence. "What are you doing out here?" David froze, his grip still on her arm. The crowd blinked in disbelief. Maya lowered her eyes, whispering, "I tried to come in, but your guard thought I didn't belong." Gasps rippled. The billionaire's expression darkened, not at Maya, but at David. He took her hand gently, like a father might. "She's not just a guest," Whitmore declared. "She's my daughter." The gala fell into stunned silence. Glasses nearly slipped from hands. The woman they had mocked, the one they had scorned as poor and unworthy, was the heiress to everything around them. The air turned heavy as every eye in the grand hall shifted to David. His grip on Maya loosened instantly, his face draining of color. The guard who had barked insults, who had shoved her like she was beneath him, now stood exposed in front of the very man who signed his paycheck. Mr. Whitmore's voice was low but thunderous in its weight. "You humiliated her. You dared to lay hands on my daughter." The words hit harder than any slap. David stammered, "Yes, sir, I didn't know. I thought she was poor, unworthy, less than you." Whitmore snapped, his voice echoing across marble floors. Gasps rose from the crowd, some guests hiding guilty faces for joining in the laughter earlier. Maya lifted her chin, tears glistening in her eyes, but her voice steady. "All I wanted was to see my father tonight, but I guess my appearance wasn't enough for them." The billionaire placed an arm around her shoulders, his protective stance clear. Then he turned to David, his gaze sharp as a blade. "You're finished here. Leave this building before security drags you out." The hall erupted, half in whispers, half in awe. The tables had turned, brutally and completely. Silence lingered in the aftermath, broken only by Maya's quiet breaths. The same guests who had mocked her now lowered their eyes in shame, realizing they had sided with arrogance over kindness. David, stripped of his authority, slinked toward the exit, his pride shattered more than his career. Mr. Whitmore gently took Maya's hand, guiding her to the center of the hall. "You don't need diamonds or designer gowns to belong here," he said, his voice rich with pride. "You are my daughter. That's worth more than anything money can buy." The crowd erupted into hesitant applause, not just for Maya's identity, but for the undeniable courage she showed in holding her head high despite humiliation. With a soft smile, Maya whispered, "Sometimes the poorest-looking soul carries the richest heart." And with that, the lesson hung heavy. True worth is never worn, it's lived. If this story moved you, just wait until you hear the next one, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss these powerful moments. Your support helps us keep bringing stories that inspire hearts.